All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a huge challenge facing open source projects: what to do about the absolute flood of AI-generated code. And spoiler alert, it's way more complicated than just banning AI.
Okay, let's just start right here. This quote from the FastAPI project hits the nail on the head. Think about it. With GenAI, the cost to create code is basically zero. But the cost for a human to review it, to test it, to actually understand it, that's still incredibly high. And this imbalance is completely overwhelming the volunteers who keep these projects alive.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start by looking at just how big this AI contribution flood really is. Then we'll get into the weeds with 7 specific headaches that maintainers are dealing with. After that, we'll explore the 3 big picture philosophies that are popping up, lay out a 12-strategy playbook projects are using, and finally, we'll peek into the future of all this.
You know, the whole social contract of open source is being rewritten right before our eyes. For decades, the sheer effort it took to write and submit code acted as a kind of natural quality filter. Well, that's gone. AI can now spit out enormous amounts of code, way faster than the limited number of humans can possibly review it. This isn't just about more work, it's a fundamental change to how open source even functions.
And this isn't just some vague, high-level problem. When you actually talk to the maintainers on the front lines, their worries tend to fall into 7 very specific, very real categories. It's like they're fighting a battle on 7 different fronts at once.
So, the number one concern? It all boils down to a fundamental question of responsibility. When a chunk of code is submitted by an AI, who actually understands it? Who can explain the why behind it? And, maybe most importantly, who's going to be around to fix it when it breaks? That chain of human accountability is starting to look pretty shaky.
And wow, this quote really gets to the heart of how it feels for maintainers. These folks signed up to collaborate with other smart, passionate developers. They did not sign up to debug the weird, nonsensical output of a black box AI. It changes their job from a creative partnership to just a frustrating, time-sucking chore.
And this really shows you the whole shebang. It's everything from code that looks right, but is subtly broken, to issue trackers getting clogged up with useless, verbose, AI-generated comments. We're even seeing fake security reports wasting precious time, people trying to game bug bounty programs with AI, and of course, the massive legal question mark hanging over copyright and licensing. It's a mess.
Okay, so with all these headaches, how are projects actually fighting back? Well, it's not random. We're starting to see 3 distinct philosophies, or, mindsets, emerge that are guiding how they approach this whole AI governance thing.
And we have data on this. A study of 67 major open source projects shows a really clear trend. Almost 60%, the vast majority, are not just banning AI. They're trying to find a middle path, one that focuses on setting clear boundaries and demanding human accountability. An outright ban or a totally hands-off approach, those are definitely the minority views.
So you've got these 2 totally opposite ways of thinking. The prohibitionists, like the NetBSD project, see AI code as just fundamentally risky. They call it tainted code that shouldn't even get in the door. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the quality-first folks, who basically say, look, I don't care if you used an AI or a magic wand. Does the code meet our standards? That's all that matters. And that brings us back to that big slice of the pie, the most common approach: boundary and accountability. The thinking here is that AI is a new, powerful tool. And like any powerful tool, it needs its own set of rules. Sure, you can use it, but you have to tell us you used it, you have to double-check its work, and at the end of the day, you, the human, are 100% on the hook for it. Okay, so that's the philosophy. But how do you actually do it? How do you put it into practice? Well, projects aren't just writing one rule. They're building out a whole playbook using a mix of 12 different concrete strategies to manage AI contributions.
And it turns out these 12 strategies, they all fit into 4 main buckets, 4 key jobs they're trying to do. You've got entry admissibility, which is all about being a bouncer at the front door. Responsibility restoration, which makes sure a human is always accountable. Workflow protection, which is about guarding the maintainer's time. And finally, infrastructure adjustment, which is about changing the playing field itself.
Let's start with the most aggressive one: boundary exclusion. This is the main weapon for the prohibitionist camp. Instead of asking, is this AI-generated code any good, it asks a much earlier question: should we even be looking at this stuff at all? For a lot of them, the answer is just a flat no.
And here it is in black and white. A perfect example from NetBSD. They don't just treat AI code like any other contribution. They label it tainted code. It needs special, high-level permission just to get in the door. This isn't about quality, it's about admissibility.
All right, now for the big one, the strategy that's at the core of that whole boundary and accountability idea. Accountability reinforcement. This basically redefines what it means to be an author. It's not about what keyboard or what AI typed the words. It's about who takes responsibility for explaining, fixing, and maintaining that code for the long haul.
And this is the bottom line, right? Projects are drawing a very clear line in the sand. As this quote from Cloud Native PG says, "The AI did it" is never an excuse. The human who hits submit is the one, the only one, who is responsible, period. Non-negotiable.
All right, a couple more really critical strategies that we're seeing everywhere. First, simple disclosure. Just telling the maintainer, hey, I used an AI to help with this, lets them know they might need to look a little closer. Second is controlling scope. Projects are saying, don't just drop a massive AI-generated change on us. Your contribution needs to be small, focused, and tied to an issue we've already agreed needs fixing.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. It's becoming clear that just writing some rules in a text file somewhere in your project isn't really cutting it. And this is forcing the most innovative projects to think bigger, way bigger than just their own little corner of the internet.
The problem, the real problem, is that the platforms themselves, think GitHub, are kind of working against the projects. A project can write the most beautiful, thoughtful AI policy in the world, but if the platform has a big, shiny button that says generate an issue with AI, it makes it super easy for people to just ignore those rules completely.
So what's the answer? Well, it's leading to some really bold moves. We're seeing projects like Zig literally pick up and move to a different platform just to get more control. New technologies are being built, like web of trust systems that filter contributors based on reputation, and even new standards to automatically track where AI-generated code came from. So if you remember one thing from all of this, it should be this. The entire center of gravity for open source governance is shifting. It used to be all about reviewing code after it was submitted. Now, it's all about protecting the one truly scarce resource, human attention, at the very front gate. It's about admission control, not just quality control. And that leaves us with this one last, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. As AI gets better and starts acting less like a tool and more like an autonomous teammate, what are we really doing here? Are we writing rules for other humans? Or are we, maybe without even realizing it, designing the very first HR policies and APIs for our future robot colleagues?
Thanks for sticking with us for this explainer.